Welcome to the Creative Workshop series. I am JZL the Empress, and I am here with Hvmane.
Hey.
The one and only, y'all. This is Hvmane of Hvmane Studios, if you didn't know. And I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, yeah. Same pleasure is mine.
Yeah, so in today's episode, we are going to be discussing the creative process of songwriting. And I knew that we had to bring you in because you have one of the most creative minds. It's like when he speaks, y'all, he speaks with so much depth. Like, you're never going to get a simple answer from Hvmane. It's always going to be something poetic and artistic. And so what better man for the job?
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, you're a songwriter of quality yourself, so what a good
Thanks.
combo to, be discussing the nitty-gritty of everyone's soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what I'm talking about? Okay, so let's jump into it. What was your first introduction to songwriting, and what made you fall in love with it?
Yeah, all right. So my parents are both sort of musical. None of them is a professional musician, but they're both playing instruments. And since very young, since I remember, they will both sing and play instruments to me. And my dad in particular, he wrote songs. And he wrote, we recorded probably 2-3 albums of his songs, and they're all in Bulgarian, because I'm from Bulgaria. And he would go through these periods where he would write 2 or 3 a week.
Wow.
And then there'll be periods that he wouldn't write any. And that's how I got introduced to it. And also my parents were listening to a lot of singer-songwriter type musicians, like a guitar and a voice, like very simple. And this is when I learned to listen to the lyrics. And my dad and I, we also both, I wrote poetry since probably before I started writing songs. Since I began writing, I started writing rhyme because my grandfather was also a writer.
Wow.
So, I'll go to school and scribble a little piece of poetry on a piece of paper every day. And my dad and I had a period of my teenage when we couldn't see each other very often. It was that period when you don't want to be too close to your parents and hugs and kisses and all that stuff. So we wrote poems to each other, and we communicated in poetry.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then age 9, I have a written song that, I found it recently on this yellow old piece of paper that I typewrote.
Oh my gosh.
With a typewriter, and it's my first song officially, in 1983. So I was 9 years old.
That's amazing.
Right.
Do you remember the song?
Yeah, I do. It was about like 3 friends who are looking for their happiness around the world.
Wow. At 9 years old.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
So do you remember what inspired that song? Like, what triggered you to just kind of go all in and choose to write your first song?
This was actually a group effort because we were the 3 friends and we were feeling really romantic in our adventure, like going out, in the world and finding our girls and all that stuff. And we were thinking, like, dreaming about where we're going to travel and all that stuff. And
Wow.
and I'm like, we should write a song. And one of the guys played guitar a little bit, but I played guitar and sung a little bit also. So I wrote the song. And then together we kind of learned it. And one guy was banging on some things, and the other guy was playing guitar, and I was singing the song.
So cool. So cool. Yeah. So how has your journey as a songwriter evolved from when you first started to where you are now?
So let's say fast forward a few years. At age 9, I also started guitar lessons at the local, community center.
Okay.
And before that, I played accordion for 3 years.
Wow.
Like
accordion?
the piano accordion.
That is so cool.
Yeah. They told me I wanted to play guitar because obviously my dad is a songwriter, writes songs, plays guitar. And my dad, mind you, he's actually a general from the military. So he's not like a professional musician. This was just like on the side at home. He writes these awesome
That is how you
songs.
balance. I love that because you can do both.
Yeah. So I can't wait for my hands. They literally told me, your hands are too small. You're too young and you can't play guitar yet.
Okay.
Because, over there, they don't child size guitars. You go and you start on the classical guitar. And, the neck of those classical
It's so
guitars
long.
is so super wide. So there is no compromise there. Start at age 9 and you start like on this real guitar.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to get, like they said, about 9 or 10. So first thing, I turned 9 years old, go start guitar lessons. So boring. It was like classical guitar. And like within like probably 6 months, I was just like, dude, this is so slow, so boring. But I pushed to the boredom, and eventually I got to do some variations and some different pieces that were interesting and more like Spanish sounding and interesting variations. And that kind of kept me going with the guitar. But it wasn't a very creative period in terms of songwriting. And then I stopped the lessons. I moved to a school downtown. And this is when another huge creative period started in high school, when I was like 13, 14.
Okay.
Right.
I love that. So, what's interesting is you couldn't wait to get into the guitar, but you already had some familiar background with poetry and songwriting. What made you kind of move towards an instrument at like taking it to that next level from kind of writing to choosing the instrument?
I always, like, guitar was my first choice. Like, since I saw it, it was always hanging on the wall. I was playing with it like ages, like since I can remember.
Okay.
But I knew the guitar is going to be my instrument.
Okay.
But in terms of the musicality, I've always had a little bit of a ringing in my ears, or some sound, hissing, ringing, tones. And since very young age. And if I travel in a car, for example, from the white noise in the car, I start hearing patterns, and it's like symphonies, like different harmonies, and it's grand. It's almost like you're like listening to the symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're hallucinating it, but you're not hallucinating it because it comes from the inside.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it comes from the outside, and every sound I heard, I wanted to repeat and play with, and I was humming in the car. I started whistling very young. So my first instrument was actually the whistle.
Yeah, right, right. That's real.
And then the guitar, I had already learned several songs before I even started lessons. Like when I was 6 years old, I played my first song on guitar that I asked my dad to show me. So I had a very strong interest. I would play with the guitar like anytime I had, like go in and just like mingle around with it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a second choice almost. I was always interested in music, and I was always interested in poetry. And since both my parents, and my father in particular, and my grandfather, they were into poetry big time, but they were one of those literate poets, like that they would learn the different beats in poetry and, the classics. Oh, this is yam, and this is korei, and this is this, and this is that, and this is a haiku, and these are the rules.
The technicalities of it all.
So you go, hey, man, dad, like I wrote a new poem. And they come, it's like, oh no, that doesn't work. That doesn't rhyme. It's like, it sounds like,
right.
But isn't it beautiful? Yeah, it's fine, it's good. Like it was always encouraging, but at the same time, they always had some critical feedback, which made me kind of hone the feather a little bit, more, because I wanted to have the same conversations about poetry like they did. More from a standpoint of like, oh, look, that's perfect,
Wow. Yeah.
And that desire of having that rhythm makes you super creative with the choice of words and accents. And that beat that goes in the poetry, it doesn't stop.
Right.
And everything is on point with it. So later when you're writing a song, like for me, songs just like kind of come all together. It's not like lyrics, this, that. The words may come, and as the words come, they come in rhythm. It's almost like rhythm in poetry, like rap, like it does have its beat already. And then, so I go in, the words come in, the beat is clear, and I just like really dig this beat. It doesn't have sometimes it doesn't have music yet. That doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
But that is the beat that is coming with these words, with these phrases. And as I'm writing, the music starts coming in. I start hearing, like, it's not just the rhythm of the words, it's also up and down and tones and notes and chords. So then the message, I'm writing the message, concentrating on the message. And it comes more or less in that rhythm. I'm writing in that rhythm. It's not a layer I'm trying to put in that rhythm. It comes out in rhythm. And I think that training early on as a kid and striving for that rhythm perfection makes connections between the words. And I was doing that in Bulgarian. I didn't learn English until I was like 20 years old.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And now I write predominantly in English. Sometimes in Bulgarian, a little bit in Spanish here and there. But, you know, learning that in one language and then with one set of words and then learning it with another. So there was this force internally that makes me play with the words and want to do it. So, yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, let's get into the creative process,
Yes.
right? So when an idea hits you, what's the first thing you usually do? Is it like a voice memo, a melody, a lyric?
Yeah, I use my phone for everything, like everybody. So I use notes, and the moment something hits me, it's usually a lyric, like some words. It rarely starts with a repetitive with melody. It's usually some sort of a phrase that pops in my head and it hits me a certain way. It is a phrase or some words pop in my head and they come with a feeling. And I know what this feeling is. And I'm like, dude, this is like, this really sounds very nice. This is gentle or sad. I don't know what it is exactly. I'm not chasing a feeling.
Yeah.
But the phrase gives me a feeling. And that's a sign that there may be something underneath.
Ooh.
And I'm like, well, take the phone out. And I may be doing other stuff. Like I may be in a conversation or something. And I'll be like, just write the phrase. And I always automatically put the date in.
Okay.
For later, you know. But if I do have time, let's say I'm laying in my bathtub and I'm, you know, reading something, and all of a sudden that phrase or that word, those words come in, I open the note, and sometimes I just finish the whole song.
Yeah.
You know, I write it, and then the first verse usually is the first thing that comes in, and the title is not always there until the end.
Right.
Right. Sometimes the title comes in later. Sometimes it changes later. It's not that important. But the feeling and how that phrase comes, and then how did that feeling affect me, and then here they come, like the verses. And I'm not thinking, no, you know, I got to do a bridge here and a chorus here. I don't know what's going to be the chorus yet.
Right, yeah.
I don't even know if the song's going to have a chorus. Not every song has to have a chorus. So, you know, I'm going through it. I'm not thinking song. I'm just writing the feeling down. And very often as I'm writing the feeling down and I'm rereading it and trying to keep that feeling, that I want to stay true to the feeling until the end. And if I stop, I want to reread it and get into that feeling again and to finish it. But I don't want to be in different states of mind or different feelings, you know? And then as I'm doing like verse 1, verse 2, rereading, and I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Now other ideas start coming. And there is what the beat also forms during that time. And sometimes the melody also forms during that time. And then when I'm done, I kind of leave it to the test of time. Especially for the melody, because you know sometimes I can get like sidetracked by the beautiful rhythm of the poetry and kind of close my mind to the possibilities of what melodically it could sound.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's like it's like I get it, but it is not appealing enough to me to record it. So I let it brew. And just to give you like a vague idea, I have probably at the moment about 300 of them brewing.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that. We're finished poems.
Yeah.
They have a rhythm. Some of them have that melody. And if it is suitable, I would never forget it. Like I got no doubt. I start reading it, the melody is going to start coming again. So the test of time may be a week, maybe 2, but it's usually like pretty quickly.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh yeah, grab the guitar. Sometimes it happens if I have the time, if I'm not in the bathtub, you know, you can play the bathtub.
Yeah.
But if I'm like at my desk and that starts, or I'm downstairs like actually playing guitar and something hits me, the whole thing can happen within the span of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like the lyrics, the beat, the chords. And then when I'm like, oh, that's it. This is a song. Then I hit record on my phone and I play it. whichever way, just start to finish with looking at the lyrics, because I don't know the lyrics. I just
Right,
wrote the
you just
lyrics,
wrote
but I
them.
don't know them.
Yeah.
I just wrote the song, but I don't know this song. Now I have to learn it. But it's still in this state. I know it. I can play it. If I don't record it and I leave it like that, it will take time to recover. I may not be able to recover it later.
Right.
Like in that exact state. So this is when I'm like, okay, this is final. I'm going to record it on my phone. I record the song. I send it to a bunch of my friends, my close, like I have like a close circle that's like, oh, a new song. And sometimes that happens several times a day. Like I have had days I would write like 3 or 4 songs. I would have in a week I would write sometimes 15, 20 songs.
Wow.
Right. If there is like a strong inspiration, I have something to say, they just keep coming. And I'm just like waiting for when they're going to come, and they come. I'm just like, write them down.
That is so cool. I think it's so interesting because you mentioned the feeling and having to tune into that feeling or receive it and allow it to flow versus thinking about the structure and the hooks and what is the melody. And that can actually get you sidetracked if you do start to get into the technicalities and the formation.
Overthinking, right?
Overthinking it, yeah, because now you're not necessarily in the feeling. And I've had that experience, when you are a songwriter, but then you're also considering like the business of music and, what is considered a quote unquote hit record and what is the listener used to hearing when it comes down to song formation. But I think what's even more important is the reminder that music is a feeling. It's really emotional.
Exactly. And just like, with songs, that singer-songwriters are a thing. Songwriters are a completely different thing, too. There are people who, other people, they write songs for other people. And I also, when I started writing songs in such numbers, there was a point where all of these songs just like descended upon me. It wasn't a choice. And that's why I actually take very little credit for the songs that write me and that sing me.
I love that.
Yeah, because it is the other way around. It's not that I'm writing songs. Songs write me. And, sometimes I write songs to myself. Those are like coming more from the overthinking part of my brain and like being grateful for all of these gifts that I'm receiving. But I just like feel it like that it comes from the same place like what dreams come from. So they come through that space. They're coming from a space of existence where there is no knowledge of that. Like the knowledge is what the song is.
Yeah.
That is coming out. That is the message. So it's a message from a very deep place.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's not always understood. Like even by me. Like I have experience with the messages that, the soul sends us sometimes. And I have read through these messages so many years, and then some of those messages, I get them 20 years later, 15 years later,
Wow.
what that meant back then. That's why I always put the date on when that came, because then I can look at my phone, look at the pictures, like, well, what was I doing around that time?
Yeah.
Right?
That is, I definitely, I relate to that. And I think that when, like, you recognize that it does come from the inside, you're more able to know when it's arrived, when you got to put that note in your phone.
Right.
You don't want to just dismiss the moment. And I think that a lot of people actually, there's people that don't consider themselves creative, but they have the notes in their phone.
Right.
Or just they've written down those things that stand out to them. And when you do tap into that space and you're able to stay in it for a minute and allow more to flow, you'll be surprised with what comes out when you kind of like release control and just let it flow.
Exactly. And the thing is like the flow is also supposed to be, I think that there's purity to it. There is a purity in the conception of that poetry and that song that comes in. And that purity is almost in a way sacred.
Yeah.
And one should stay true to the purity of the inner feeling and the inner message, and not try to mingle too much with the mind later on to make it about the industry liking it.
Yeah.
To make it about that girl, because now I'm like, or that boy super hot. Like, I'm going to like doctor the song, so now that
Right.
person thinks that it's for them, and they're gonna come and love me and like me back. Well, no, dude, like you gotta stay true to that initial feeling. The words that came in, I know what I actually do is I try to condense after I read it, after it's done. Sometimes I go critically through the text, and I'm like, are there any fillers here? Any gap fillers that is like silly?
Right.
I just put that so I can make it rhyme. Is there a better way to relay that without being cliche? Is there a better way to condense it this way? Combine verses. I'm not trying to go for fluff.
Right.
I'm like, let's go for substance. There is always, I can repeat something 2 or 3 times if I want to pound on it. So let me just like package it without breaking the rhythm. So there is this exercise as well. Once the song is written, even later on in the studio, I'm kind of honing a little bit, and I'm like, that sounds a little silly. I understand that I can say it in a much more profound way without changing the feeling and staying true to it, right? So changes like that are well accepted backwards, because what you're doing as we're changing the song, who's watching? The spirit is watching.
Yeah.
Whatever wrote the song is watching always.
Right.
So as you're trying to make like silly mind tricks and voodoo to gain any personal favor, or for lack of better words, for just the vanity of it, don't be vain, be true, be humble with that stuff. Because the punishment is lack of inspiration. If you
I was
mingle too
literally
much,
thinking that. I'm like, you just hacked the creative block.
Right? Yeah.
When you start to put too much thought into it and trying to just force it, that's when you're faced with that creative block or frustration. Like, your spirit will become disrupted because that's not what it was trying to communicate.
Right. Exactly. So I'm very careful with changing meanings or actually dedicating things to somebody. Because there is another thing, every time I write a song, people are like, well, what is this about? Who is this about?
Right.
There's
That's
a very
so
common
true.
question. Who is the inspiration? What is the inspiration for the song? Always has to be the inspiration. And then you sat down like a writer with your skills and you wrote a song about the inspiration, and that's how it goes in a lot of people's head.
Yes.
But that's not how it goes in my head.
Yeah.
It's always like, I say that a lot when people ask me, and I'm like, who are these songs for? I mean, they're all about me.
Right.
They're about how my soul saw me at that time.
So good.
That is how I feel about them.
Yes. I mean, you can be in the feeling and kind of writing from a space of heartbreak from a recent breakup, but it doesn't mean it's about that one person. Your soul is feeling the pain from throughout your life.
Right.
Experiencing heartbreak and putting the words together to form whatever it is that you're feeling. It's not just from one particular space.
Absolutely. In addition, I think the very early songs, especially the songs that are around extreme feelings, I think in the very early life, we all source the substance for the song from our personal experience, right? And sometimes, there is no inspiration. You try to make some inspiration.
Yeah.
Like stir it up a little bit.
Right.
And even like not in a good way sometimes. Like people get frustrated from the lack thereof of that, tickling or whatever, and they start creating problems in their life to make it dramatic so that they have something to write about.
So true.
Right.
Yes.
But then later, when you kind of learn how that goes, I could be talking to you about something, and you share something like heartfelt to me, and it keeps coming back to me. Reminds me of things, and sometimes songs come completely like not even about, I don't know exactly the people. But it's how my soul sees me getting these details and knowing them.
Wow.
About somebody else's issue, which is awesome, because then you can borrow issues and you don't have to mess up your own life,
That's so true, yeah.
To wreck your life because you don't have inspiration.
That is beautiful. Wow.
In a way,
So, okay, do you believe that songwriting is more intuition or skill or both, because in your origins, you do have some technical learning, and then you also have the intuition
Right.
that flows through you. So what do you think about that?
Well, there is a balance between knowledge and skill, because with poetry, the more you do it, the better you get. Like
Right.
it's just like playing tennis. It's like ski, you know. It is a real time game. It's a game with the words, and it's a game with the feelings, and it comes in real life, and the skills are mostly to be able to capture it without being too much of a witness. You know what I mean? Without being like on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's basically capture that what's coming, capture what's there. Basically, that is
Right.
the skill, and that's the basic skill of anybody who is a good writer.
Yeah.
Period. You know, if you can capture what's there, beautiful. If you can do it in a succinct and persuasive way, even better.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that letting it go is more of a skill than capturing it. Like letting it happen.
Yes.
Right? And then how do you capture something without focusing on it?
Right. We're talking about the flow state here.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's deep. And I often in my songwriting process, I will press record on my computer and allow the music to play, the beat to play, and I'll just start to freestyle.
Right.
And then eventually I get into my flow state. And I don't know, I can be talking about anything, but it's going to begin, words are going to flow, the energy is going to flow, and it might take a second to get into that state, but I know when I'm there because I'm not thinking about it. I'm literally flowing with the energy that's there.
Absolutely. At different speeds as well. Because like what you're describing, sometimes, you know, there's just so much coming that I need to be in front of the computer.
Right.
And I can type with all my fingers. I learned that early. I can type really fast.
Yeah.
And I can't type fast enough. You know,
Right.
it's just like, it's coming. And it's almost like rapping, you know, the free flow state would be, you know, just press record and start
And go.
going. And then maybe transcribe later.
Right.
And hone it later if needed be. But for me, a lot of the time, since the genre is a little bit different, it's like rapping in slow-mo.
Yes.
You know, and the beat is there and it's going slow. And as it's going, I'm writing it down, and I can write it with my thumbs on the
Right.
phone, not even feeling afraid that it's going to get ahead of me.
Yes.
That is what I love. Like that is in that calm state. I also feel if somebody abruptly interrupts me and I have to put my phone down and disappear, later on I can go back and just continue.
And get into that, right?
Like I have zero fear of losing inspiration. Never had it. Never had like, oh, what if I have to do an album and I don't have an inspiration about it? It's like, if you have something to say and if you really want to say it, it's going to come out.
What about for people that do have that fear, or, you know, they are experiencing that blockage? Is it that simple that they're just not letting it flow, or what do you think?
Well, I can't speak of everybody else, but there is an element of a block, like what we talked about, overthinking. Usually it has something to do with anxiety,
Right.
you know, because depression actually is pretty good about writing songs.
True. That's true.
But anxiety isn't like that. Like anxiety interrupts everything.
Yes.
And that flow state for me looks like maybe 10 to 15 minutes of uninterrupted work. So if I feel anxious about something, just my focus is not as long. I can't really do it start to finish. I gotta do it in pieces. And so I think a lot of the interruptions and the blockages are what else is going on in our lives right now.
Yeah.
And so those blocks, which are like you could overcome them in time, and you understand how those works. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But there is also sometimes lack of inspiration for the lack of need of that outlet. Because you think of a poet. A poet, in my view, is somebody who can see the poetry in life. It's not somebody who just writes everything in poetry that I see around,
Right.
Right? You can see the poetry in life. You decide, at what type at what moment you tap into that poetry of life. So in a way, if there isn't much going on, there is a rift with reality, something like paradoxes, questions, something like big questions that you want to answer, something that you want to explain, then why strap poetry on top of a life like that? That's a good life. Live it. Live your life. Now
Wow.
put the notebook away, put the microphone away, and just go, live that bitch.
Yeah. Go live it. Live it up. Right.
Right? And then in moments like that, I feel like I'm not getting inspiration, and that's awesome. Because now there is nothing to compress. I've cleaned up around myself. I've written a lot of good art, like with all that stuff. I've caught up to myself. Right now, my life makes sense. Because I believe that all art is in the rift between the reality of things and how life is for everybody, and then these things that are different for each of us.
Yeah.
And how each one of us sees that reality. And then the more rift there is, the more creation there is to fill it. And art comes in to fill the void and to clean up, really. Clean up in the mind, clean up in the soul, just clean up around. And sometimes during this cleanup, people realize things. They emerge from that period of artistism and compression of all of these reflections. Sometimes different people emerge with some opinions 180 degrees different from what they were before they got into that period. And then they want everybody to know about that, and they do a lot of art to explain to everybody how they see the world right now.
Right.
And then after that, you've cleaned up, kind of upgraded myself. If you feel like, okay, for a few months, for a few years even, some people don't need to create anymore because whatever they did before explained that rift to an enough point where, they don't want to put like silly poetry on top of like living a great life, for example.
Yeah.
So there is that as well. And also people sometimes when they write good music and they make an album like out there and then they make some money, they let me spend some money. Let me live some life.
Right.
It's a very natural reaction.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I love the way that you're describing this process because it's not just about creating a time for songwriting as much as it is it being a part of your actual life and your lifestyle and the way that you process and then live and then express, and it allowing it to come in the waves that are natural for you in the way that you are seeing and experiencing life.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as I mentioned, if you've cleaned up well and there is no rifts at the moment that need to be explained with some sort of art, that is also an illusion. Because the weeds are growing all the time, man. Like it's like from everywhere. So maybe at the moment you've cleaned up a little bit, there's short weeds. But like look around 2-3 months later.
Right.
And then if you want to clean up, there the artist coming in with the mop,
Yep, exactly.
Coming to mop up.
Wow.
So that is for the periods that are non-creative, where everything seems to be going okay in your life, and your producer is pushing you. It's like, come on, man. Like, we need an album. Chop.
Yes.
You haven't written an album in like 8 months. And
Right.
Yeah, go. What's wrong with you? Like, you have food, you have money, blah, blah, blah. You should be writing songs out the wazoo. And it's actually totally the opposite way.
I'm so glad that you said that.
And how many songs have you heard from artists bitching about their producers telling them what
Exactly.
to do? They try to write my songs, they tell me what I can, what I cannot do.
Yeah,
exactly.
because you tell me to.
So then what inspired the writing of that song?
Exactly.
A rift with reality.
Right.
It just goes to prove, just like full circle around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I really love that you're sharing that because I think that wisdom will set a lot of creatives free because
Absolutely.
it's so often that we push against it and it can be a frustrating experience, or you might feel like you lost it, or in it. It can also be depressing where it's like, oh, it's just not coming. But just that thought of realizing it's okay if it's not there, go live
Right.
and allow it to come. is a lot less stressful than, beating the same bush.
Exactly, exactly. And in a way, if you think about it, while you're doing that, out in the world, spending your money, living your life, or whatever you do in between creative periods, well, this is how we gather the data and all the reflections, because you're meeting people. How is it for you? You go perform. You meet so much new folk, and you talk to so many people during a period, and you're like absorbing. You see, this is how it is for this artist. This is how it is for this producer. This is how it is for this studio. This is how it is for this production house. How is it for me? And this is the process of writing any kind of art.
Yeah.
Is if the reflections do not give you enough information about the world around you, time to sit down quietly and look inside and see how is it for you. And those truths are unique for every human being, different truths. You can't even argue and compare and be like, oh, yours is better, mine is worse. No. This is how it is for every one of us. Songs and poetry, for me, help explain that. Like, oh, sure, I have all the reflections, but how is it for me? So after a period of a lot of reflections, maybe, people are having a little bit of a hiatus, they can't write. We'll start traveling a little bit, go organize things, organize events, start talking to people, network. Just more reflections. That will give you the stimulation. It will hit you probably in a month or two.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So even just allowing yourself to get back into that space after you live. Like, okay, now give yourself that time to sit down and just reflect and see what pops up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So what about collaboration? What do you look for in an artist or a collaborator when you're writing together? Is that something that you tend to do often, or are you more of a solo creator?
So when I started writing the big numbers of songs, when I said like they started descending upon me, and I started writing them, and then I started recording them in the studio. So I recorded about 50 songs in the studio. And we released an album, but there are 4 more albums that are ready. We just haven't had time to release them.
Did y'all hear that? He's sitting on 4 albums.
Who sits on 4 albums?
He's sitting on, Hvmane is sitting on 4 albums, guys. Just wait for it.
They're coming. So in the beginning, I went to the engineer, the studio, the recording artist with whom we, worked together. Shout out to Blaine at Q. Recording, and I'm like, what should we do with this? I'm just like, these are songs, I think they're pretty cool, and what should we do with them? Like, should we find somebody to sing them? I didn't even think I wanted to sing. I was like, maybe I'll just put a band together that will play these songs, and I wouldn't even be on it.
Wow, okay.
So I was not looking for glory or stage presence or performing or touring or anything like that. And Blaine is like, let's just see what's there. Let's just capture what's there. So we started recording them, basically me playing and singing the song until we get it into a vibe on a clicker, right? I was like, again and again and again. Man, a couple of times I lost my voice in that process. I'll be like 10, 15, 20 times, 30 times, until it really grooves.
Yes.
Right? And then I don't even remember singing it. Just like now I know all the chords, I know all the lyrics, my eyes closed. All the lights are dimmed in the studio, and then this one take, sometimes a single take even, we don't have to comp it. And and we're going to throw it all away, by the way, later. That goes completely thrown away later.
Oh, wow.
This is just me with microphones that have a little bit of isolation, playing my song, getting it as it's going to be. The whole structure is there. And then we start working on it. Okay, now clean guitar, drums, bass, whatever. Sometimes we play together. I'll do a guitar part, and the bassist will do something. And this is all artists are either going to be Blaine, or we're going to invite other artists and book them and, pay them a few bucks, to do a cello or do back vocals. We got the horns a few times, and whatever we hear on the song. And that's the creative process of just blowing it up and expanding it. And sometimes we can do a lot, do the full R&B treatment, it's the drums and the bass and the rhythm guitar and other things, keys. And sometimes we just leave it very raw and very kind of couple of instruments and a lot of open space. And so that's the collaboration. I'm more than happy of giving any of these songs to any artist who wants to finish them up and, go with them. Because, I mean, who cares? Like, in the end of the day, it all goes out to the writer.
Yeah.
Not financially, of course, but,
Yeah.
who wrote, like, I do not like this, like, today, the way we are exposed to so much content that you don't know who the author is.
Right.
It's all TV, basically.
Yes.
You just, like, turn it on, and, like, whether you're scrolling Instagram or you're going on YouTube or you're turning on the TV, you don't know who wrote it.
You don't.
And people sometimes go through TV series and shows and all that stuff and expose themselves creatively to that influence without even knowing who wrote it. How
That's
irresponsible
deep.
is this? You got to know who's talking to you, bro.
Yeah.
The
so
words
true.
have a tremendous power. And I don't want somebody, whispering in my ear and affecting me subliminally or directly with a piece of art which is strong, but I don't know nothing about them. And that's a little risky for the soul.
Yes, it's powerful that you say that, because I think that as a collective, people are waking up to that more and more.
Yeah.
Realizing that, and also finding out information about who's behind this, and they didn't know that, and now people are feeling bamboozled. And so it is important that you do actually know what you're listening to,
right?
Know where it's originated from, and take that time to do that research, look into it if it's that important to go into your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And here's where the magic happens. Like, let's say I wrote a song, and I wasn't even thinking about you when I wrote it. Mm-hmm. That would be a great song, for Jazzy to perform. But then, we're sitting, shooting the shit, and I'm like, well, here's a song, tell me what you think about it. Like, I start playing the song, and you're like, I love it, man, I can relate to this. And you find something in your life, like we start talking about it, and I'm like, well, this is what was on my mind. It's like, oh, that was on my mind. All of a sudden, you start owning that song. That becomes your song.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you have to have the freedom to finish it, to change it, maybe add a verse, maybe do something, apply it to yourself. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be a team effort. But only in those cases, the artist who performs it can add the full value.
Yes.
Not being the songwriter. Because there's still so much power coming from the writer. And what is a movie script? Same thing.
Right.
What is like a novel, same stuff.
Yeah.
So, this is where I'm, when you were asking me about collaboration, I'm completely open to all kinds of collaboration. I'm even more than happy not to sing my own songs.
Yeah. and even just by speaking on that, there's levels of collaboration, right? There can be collaboration in the actual songwriting room versus when it's time to now record and you're bringing in different musicians and different instruments and whatnot. And even though this is the creative process of songwriting, there's also a creative process to recording. There's engineering. There's all of these different elements that do come together when does come time to actually make the record.
Absolutely. And I think, it's very important to also split your work into palatable. When you're creating a lot, let's say we're writing something for a movie, and it's an hour and a half soundtrack, and it's a lot of writing, a lot of creation. You can't be doing everything at the same time.
Right.
You really have to sit down and write it first.
Yeah, that's true.
And then do get everybody together and then produce it and record it. And if you're just like, oh, I got the first song out of 23 songs or 45 songs, whatever the movie is. It's like, I just got the first one and the bridge and whatever, and then we'll repeat it, we'll figure it out while we shoot. No, you can't.
Yeah. There's layers.
Yeah, you have to have the whole thing. And then later you have to, in a similar way, focus on production.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, sure, it's always a team effort, but knowing when to collaborate with whom in that process, super important. Like when you do it. Yeah.
Very important. Yeah, I'm excited to dive more into those avenues as well in some future creative workshop episodes. Before we close, what advice would you give artists who want to grow as songwriters?
Oh, dude, I don't give advice. I don't teach and preach. And I think, but so if you know how they have these songwriting classes, and you can go and learn how to be a songwriter.
Right.
And they're like, well, first, get an idea, then write this, then see the rhyme, then try this music. Is there any music you've written before? Does it match? Does it not match? So people try all kinds of things.
Yes.
And I'll revert to something that my dad said back in the day. And I'm like, Dad, how can you freaking take the quill and whip it? Because one time I went to him and I'm like, dude, we're going to this party and it's a birthday of a friend of mine, and me and my friend, and we're like 14, 15, we really want to gift that friend a song. An original song, but we can't think about how to write it. And he's like, well, okay, what do you want to write about? It was about this, about that. So he gets the information. He whips this beautiful song. Awesome lyrics. I recorded it later.
Wow.
It's not released, but and I asked him, how do you do it? And he said, well, son, first of all, you have to know what you want to say. And second, he said, you really have to want to say it.
Wow. There you have
That's
it.
it. Just think about what you want to say.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to stay in. The thing is, it will gut you. If you're, it will not let you sleep until it comes out.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, shout out to the old man.
Yeah. Something so simple but profound.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today, Hvmane. Yeah. It has been wonderful. This has been just a small bit of the creative process to songwriting, and we will see you guys next time on the Creative Workshop series brought to you by Hvmane Studios.